have completed 3 sessions on ACLS. So one, we started with BLS. So we started with BLS, what is high quality CPR, what are the components we have discussed. Then we went ahead with the how to differentiate between a shockable rhythm and a non-shockable rhythm. Then we went ahead with what is meant by team dynamics. So team dynamics, what mutual respect that you need to give among your team workers, what are the things that you need to do when you are doing a resuscitation, what is closed loop communication, clear roles and responsibility, clear instructions. So these are the things that we have completed in the last class. So now today what we will see, we have discussed that we have a patient collapse and we have connected to the defibrillator and we have seen that it is a shockable rhythm. So as I said, the shockable rhythms are of two things. They can be either ventricular fibrillation or pulseless ventricular tachycardia. Okay, so these are the two shockable rhythms. So what we will see is this part of the algorithm here. So we will see this part of the algorithm. We will not discuss here today. So we will see this part of the algorithm. So this algorithm says what? So immediately you have seen that you have connected to the defibrillator and you have seen that it is either a ventricular tachycardia, which will look like this. So this is otherwise called as a monomorphic ventricular tachycardia, or it can be an polymorphic ventricular tachycardia. Polymorphic ventricular tachycardia, which can look like this, or it can be an ventricular fibrillation. So it is again irregular. So this is regular and this is irregular. So these two are examples for your shockable rhythm in a cardiac arrest. So you have decided that you have to deliver a shock to this patient. So that is the decision that has been made. So as I told yesterday, so the moment a defibrillator is available, so the defibrillator, I will just draw down a model of a defibrillator. So defibrillator will have something like this screen. So in the central part where you can have all the rhythm displayed. Suppose imagine that this is a ventricular tachycardia that is being displayed here, and it will show a lead thing here. Okay, a lead. So which lead you want to select here? You want to select this lead only. Which lead you want to select? You have to always remember that we need to select lead 2. So lead 2 is what we need to select in here. So there will be a button here. So here there will be a button. You can press that button. Defibrillator to defibrillator, it will change. I cannot say this is a method in one defibrillator, but there will be a button for lead change. You need to press that lead change button and you have to make sure that you are in lead 2. So that is the one important thing that you have to see. Then in some defibrillator, it will be written into 1, into 2, into 4, into 1/2. So that means, what does it say? That it says that the size of the image, you want to increase, you want to magnify. You want to magnify. Into 1 means that is a normal size. Into twice you can magnify and see what is it. What is the reason for that? I will let you know. So this will be the next thing that you will be able to see. Gain or into size. You will have one button where you can press it and you can increase the size. So first one, what you have to see, you have to select lead 2, and next thing is that you have to see, ideally it should be in lead into 1, but you want to increase its size and see, you can put into 2. So depending upon that you can decide. So that is the next thing. Then you will have something called as an, here there will be, you have an something called as an synchronization button. Sync button will be there. Sync button. So sync button can be there. It can be anywhere. So I'm just saying these are the general part that you should have for a defibrillator. You should have a sync button. Then what else you will have? You will have another knob like this. Okay, where you need to switch on the machine and you will have different energies like 10 joules, 20 joules till 200 joules. That is what is the maximum in a biphasic. In some defibrillator it can be up till 270 joules also. So you will have the energy sourcing rotation button where you can select the amount of energy, how much is needed, and it will be attached to a printer also. So a printer can be there. So the printer will give you an if you want to take out a strip of whatever is happening, you can take out that print. So this will be the basic thing that is needed for a defibrillator, and also you might have a charging button here. So this is a sync button and there can be another button called as a charging button. So basically defibrillator, as we have discussed before, you can have monophasic defibrillator and biphasic defibrillator. So we will discuss defibrillator in a separate class. So just imagine this will be the module, basic module of a defibrillator that you will have to see. You will have a monitor where you will see what is the rhythm, and you will have connections. You will have 3 cables that is getting connected, one to the red, yellow and green. In the last class we have already discussed where to connect these leads. One needed to be on the right shoulder, left shoulder and to the apex, and you will have two paddles that will be attached to here. So one paddles you need to keep it over the sternum and right side of the sternum, and one over the apex. So these are the two paddles that you need to get. So these are the basic parts that you will be able to see in a defibrillator. So the moment you connect to the defibrillator and see it is a shockable rhythm or it is a non-shockable rhythm, you have to decide. If it is a shockable rhythm, you have to deliver the shock immediately. Suppose, why I said regarding gain, suppose you are seeing something like this, okay, something like this. You are seeing something like this. What is this? It looks like an asystole. When you look at this, it looks like an asystole. But once I am not very sure, because asystole classically it should be a straight line like this, no? But I am seeing some disturbances here. I am seeing it's not exactly like a straight line. So what I do, no? I will just magnify this area. So I just put into 2. When I am putting into 2, this is something like this. So what is that? What is this? It is a wide complex rhythm. Is it a wide complex rhythm? QRS is more than 3 small squares. Yes. This is the QRS complex. This is the QRS complex. It is more than 3 small squares. It's a wide complex rhythm. So regular or irregular? Irregular. So if it is a wide complex rhythm and which is irregular, what we can call? It is a ventricular fibrillation. So why we are telling this? When there is a fine VF, very fine VF, very small VF, which some things looks like this, you will be missing that VF. So when you see it as asystole, it is a non-shockable rhythm. You will not deliver the shock. Suppose you have any doubt that it's a fine VF, you just magnify it and see whether it is a fine VF or not. Fine VF or not. So that is the next thing that you need to see. So you have to magnify and see whether it is a fine VF or not. That is the reason why that button is very important. So another thing that you can do in the defibrillator, as I told, no, there is a lead selection is there, no. So as I told, you usually select lead 2. So lead 2 is what we usually select. But there is another option called as paddle. When you press on the button, you will see another option called as paddle. So why there is a paddle mode? Suppose imagine that you didn't get the leads. There is no leads to get connected. So what you can do, no, just keep those paddles. Suppose this is the patient's chest. Imagine this as the patient's chest. This as the sternum. Just keep those paddles, one over here and one over here. And while keeping the paddle, the machine will analyze the rhythm and it will show you whether it's a shockable rhythm or a non-shockable rhythm. You understood? Instead of keeping the leads connected, if you don't get a lead, just change into the paddle mode and just keep the paddles over the patient's chest and analyze the rhythm. While analyzing the rhythm, the machine will show you whether it is a shockable or whether it is a non-shockable rhythm. If it is a shockable rhythm, immediately you charge and you select the amount of energy and deliver the shock. So that is a basic usage of defibrillator, what I have said. Now the next thing that you remember is, we will come to this algorithm. So what you have done, you have seen that it is a shockable rhythm. It is either a VF or a pulseless ventricular tachycardia. What you have to do immediately is do, first step, you have recognized a shockable rhythm. So first you have recognized that it is a shockable rhythm. Second thing, what is you have to do? You have to prepare for defibrillation. So defibrillation and cardioversion, there are two terminologies. Same machine we will use for different purpose. So defibrillation is the procedure where we will use high amount of energy, and defibrillation is only used in cardiac arrest. We will not use defibrillation when a patient is having an unstable tachycardia. Defibrillation we will use only in cardiac arrest. So we will use a higher amount of energy. We will discuss when we discuss regarding defibrillator in detail, regarding defibrillation and cardioversion. So the next thing is that you have to prepare for defibrillation. And what is the other thing, most important thing? Continue CPR. Okay. You don't stop CPR. Seeing a shockable rhythm, you stopped CPR. Let the machine come, let us charge, because again there is a time delay. So yesterday I told, till the machine is pre-charged, you can do that. Otherwise what you can do is, no, you can just keep the machine pre-charged itself. You can keep the machine pre-charged itself. Once you start resuscitation, you keep it always at 270. Pre-charge it, and moment you see that, you deliver the shock. So that is one thing. So don't waste your time, because interruption has to be minimized. Then the next thing, continue CPR, prepare for defib, and you select the amount of energy, how much energy that you need to be selected. So in an adult patient, it is pretty easy. Remember, 200 joules in a biphasic defibrillator. There are different types of defibrillators. So remember, 250 joules in a biphasic defibrillator. So select 200 joules in a biphasic defibrillator, or you have any dilemma. You don't know what is the amount of energy. What you can do? Select the maximum dose available in the defibrillator. Select the maximum dose that is available in the defibrillator. Suppose this is a rotation here. So you have 10 to 270. You have a doubt how much you need to, just keep the knob in 270 joules. So suppose you have any doubt, select the maximum joule whatever is available in the defibrillator. So that is the next thing that you have to do. So select the maximum dose that is available. Then what you have to do? So you have selected it. The next step what you have to do? So that is the fifth step. Next, the sixth step what you have to do? You have to charge it. So while charging only, the paddles will be in a position to deliver the energy. By selecting, the paddles won't have any energy. So by charging into it, the paddles will have whatever energy you have selected, then only that energy will be available in the defibrillator. So you have to charge the defibrillator. And next thing, seventh step, what you have to do? The next step, what you have to do? You have to apply jelly over the paddles. Take out the paddles, apply jelly, take out the paddles and apply jelly and position it appropriately. Now while you are positioning, that is very important. In some defibrillator, you will have options. See, in a defibrillator, suppose imagine this is the paddle, okay. So this is over the right side of the sternum and this is over the apex, okay. So this is the paddles that you have kept. There will be an indicator like this, okay. So the indicator light can be, there will be a small indicator light like this and it will be written contact. So what does that? It shows that if the contact is good, that is you have applied properly over the patient's chest and jelly application, everything is proper, this will be in green light. So this will be in green light. If the contact is not proper, this will be in red. So that is in one model of defibrillator. There are different types of defibrillators. Some defibrillator will show the color code. Some defibrillator, what it will show is, no, if there are 3 lights, for example, there are 3 lights kept. If the contact is not good, only 1 light will blink. If the contact is very good, all the 3 lights will blink. So depending upon whatever type of defibrillator you have to see how good is the contact. So the best contact only will deliver the best energy. So what all steps you have done? First of all, you have recognized that it is a shockable rhythm. You are preparing for defibrillator. You have taken the defibrillator. You have continuing the CPR because that time lag we need to avoid. And you have selected 200 joules in a biphasic or the maximum amount of joules in a biphasic defibrillator, whichever type of defibrillator it is. Then you have to, what else you have to do? You have to charge the defibrillator and then you have to take out the paddles, apply jelly and make sure that there is a good contact in the patient's chest. And then the next thing you have to shout that all clear, everybody clear, and you make sure that you are not touching the patient and oxygen source is disconnected, not connected to the patient, because oxygen source is connected, there is a chance of explosion. That's a very, very rare chance, but oxygen and shock, electric shock, suddenly there can be a chance of combustion. So you have to avoid that. So you immediately deliver the shock. So soon after delivering the shock, so what we have done, we have reached the step here. Okay, so there is no synchronization in defibrillation. Remember that there is no need of synchronization. So synchronization is only done to be in cardio version. So defibrillation, there is no synchronization. So the moment you have delivered the first shock, okay, you have delivered the first shock. What do you have to do? Immediately resume CPR. Resume CPR. Don't wait. Don't see what has happened to the rhythm. Nothing. You have given the first shock. You resume the CPR. Immediately resume the CPR. Continue CPR at a rate of 100 to 120 compression a minute, 30:2, depending upon advanced airway is there, you can deliver 1 breath every 6 seconds. There is no advanced airway, you continue at a rate of 30:2. Then meanwhile, there is a person who is taking care. So we'll just go ahead here again. So there is a person who is giving the CPR, defib, airway, drugs, IV drugs, then team leader, recorder. Okay, so this person we should ask him to put an IV access or an intraosseous access. There is an IV or an IO access. There is a two things you have to put, either IV access or an intraosseous access. When you will ask for an IO access, basically IO means you are drilling inside the bone and you are giving the drug through the delivery through the bone. So whenever you have failed two attempts, a experienced provider has failed two attempts of an IO, of an IV. If the person who is an experienced provider has failed two attempts putting an IV access, then you can go for intraosseous access. Intraosseous access we will discuss in PALS. Whenever we are doing pediatric advanced life support, I will show you demonstration and everything. We will do that in PALS. So remember that you have to go for an IV access. So we haven't given any drugs right now. Okay. So what we have done, we have just continued CPR. We have seen that it is a shockable rhythm and we have delivered the first shock, and soon after the first shock we have given the resumed the CPR and resumed the CPR. Then after 2 minutes, so 2 minutes you need to continue CPR. After 2 minutes you again reassess. You again reassess and see whether it is a shockable rhythm or it is a non-shockable rhythm. If it is a shockable rhythm, what do you have to do? You have to again deliver the shock. Whatever steps we have discussed, we have to do it again. So what has happened? You have a patient who has collapsed in front of you, who are connected to the defibrillator. You have started high quality CPR and connected to the defibrillator, and you have decided that it's a shockable rhythm. You decided to deliver the first shock. You given the first shock, you have resumed the CPR. Then what you have done? You have again reassessing the patient after 2 minutes, and you have to see whether it is a shockable rhythm or whether it is a non-shockable rhythm. If it is a non-shockable rhythm, then it is different, but it is a shockable rhythm, you have to give second shock. So that is the second shock that what we have given. Then what you have to do? Immediately resume CPR. Then after resuming the CPR only, the drug will come, that is epinephrine. So epinephrine. So here you remember that it is a shockable rhythm. Shockable rhythm, first shock, CPR, then again reassess. If it is a shockable rhythm, again shock, then only the drug will come. So after the second shock only, we are planning to give a drug called as epinephrine. So epinephrine is again, it is available as 1 in 1000 dilution. Okay. So that is what is available. So what you have to give? You have to give 1 mg of this epinephrine stat with 10 to 20 ml of saline flush. So this epinephrine you should be giving every 3 to 5 minutes. Every 3 to 5 minutes you need to repeat epinephrine. So till the patient is having a return of spontaneous circulation, without any delay you need to continue giving epinephrine every 3 to 5 minutes. So that is what you need to remember. Every 3 to 5 minutes you give epinephrine. So what we have done? We have a patient who had collapsed. We have given the first shock here. This is the first shock. This is the second shock. And after the second shock, you have given a drug called as epinephrine. And epinephrine you have done. And one more thing that you need to give the person who is taking care of the drugs here. So see, we have a 2 times you have delivered the shock, right? 2 times you have delivered the shock. So sometimes the third time also it might be a shockable rhythm. So we have given only one drug, that is epinephrine. So second, one more drug that you can ask the person to prepare and keep it ready. So that drug name is called as amiodarone. So amiodarone, what you have to do? Amiodarone, it's a broad spectrum antiarrhythmic agent. So what you have to do? You have to tell the person after the second shock, you have to tell the person who is dealing with the drug to prepare and keep amiodarone 300 mg ready. I am not telling to give amiodarone right now. So I am just telling them to prepare and keep amiodarone ready. So 300 mg of amiodarone should be prepared and should be kept ready after the second shock. So what will you do? You again reassess the patient after 2 minutes and you see whether it is a shockable rhythm. You deliver the third shock, and after the third shock you have to give amiodarone. 300 mg of amiodarone. Suppose amiodarone is not available, there is another option that is available called as lignocaine or lidocaine. Lidocaine is again a drug. The dosage is 1 to 1.5 milligram per kg. So these 2 drugs, 3 drugs, whatever we have discussed is very, very important. So remember, epinephrine, when you will give after the second shock in a shockable rhythm, after the second shock, every 3 to 5 minutes, 1 mg, you have to repeat it, followed by 10 to 20 ml of saline flush. Next drug, after the second shock, ask them to keep it prepared and keep it ready. And after the third shock, you give 300 mg of amiodarone. And further, you can give up till 150 mg. If the rhythm is again shockable rhythm, you are given 300 mg initially, and after 5-10 minutes, again it is shockable rhythm, you can repeat 150 mg more. So 300 mg, again you can give 150 mg more. Then the next thing what I have told, or if amiodarone is not available, you can give lidocaine 1 to 1.5 mg per kg body weight. So again, it can be also be given as a second dose, half of the first dose. So just remember, whatever be the first dose, you can give half of the second dose. So that is the dose of lidocaine that you need to remember. So this process will continue. This process will continue unless there is a return of spontaneous circulation. So that is called as ROSC, or you will get exhausted. So when to stop CPR, I will discuss in the next class. And role of capnography, there is something called as ETCO2 monitoring, that also we will discuss in the next class. With the shockable rhythm and non-shockable rhythm we will discuss. So just remember here what all things we have discussed today. It is pretty easy. One thing, we have seen that it's a shockable rhythm. You prepare for defibrillation, deliver the first shock, resume CPR immediately. Then after 2 minutes, again you reassess the victim. If the victim is again having a shockable rhythm, deliver the shock. So amount of energy, maximum dose of 200 joules in a biphasic defibrillator. And after the second shock, give first dose of epinephrine, and every 3 to 5 minutes you continue epinephrine. The next thing, after the second dose, you can ask the person to prepare and keep amiodarone ready. Don't give. And after the third shock, you can give amiodarone. That cycle continues. So you can give amiodarone or lidocaine till you get a return of spontaneous circulation, or you decided to stop CPR because there is futile, because there is no point in continuing CPR. You have to continue this cycle. Meanwhile, you have to look for the reversible causes of cardiac arrest. That all we will discuss in the next class. What are the reversible causes of cardiac arrest and how will you go about with the reversible cause of cardiac arrest. So VFVT, first shock, then immediately start CPR, put an IV access, then after 2 minutes again reassess, shockable rhythm, again shock, give epinephrine. Consider advanced airway and capnography, that I will discuss it tomorrow, what to be done, how is an advanced airway and capnography, we will discuss that. Then you have to see whether it is a shockable again. If it is shockable again, continue CPR, shock and give amiodarone, and always look for the reversible causes of cardiac arrest. So this is the algorithm that you need to remember for the shockable rhythm. Is it clear? Okay.